Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Fun. Switching up our day once again for a chatty episode. Ready for it? Alright, girlfriend. Got this. Hello. Welcome. You guys are in for a treat this.
Hello.
How are ya?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you too. I'm always excited to do my interviews, but I'm actually really excited to talk to you and learn more about you and everything that you're doing, and for you to have an opportunity to share this with so many people.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Ellie.
Of course, you're welcome. So I'm going to do a little intro to get us started. Excuse me. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of Chatty. Usually Chatty takes place on Sundays, but I was out of town this weekend and had something come up. So Magda's super flexible and we were able to switch it. So thank you for that.
Of course.
Chatty is an opportunity for young entrepreneurs to share about what they're up to talk about their businesses, the way they're inspiring people, which I know Magda's doing in so many different areas. So I'm super pumped for her to share about that with all of you. And yeah, just for her to have the opportunity to share her story. So this evening, my guest is Magda Madrigal. We are actually connected through a friend that I met while living abroad in Spain. Did you meet her in Spain as well?
No, we met through Instagram, actually. That was it. My brother follows Valerie's page, and I was in her giveaway, and I actually won. But we were having conversations like prior to that, and I think we realized we had a lot in common, so we became friends.
Okay, well, Valerie's amazing. I was living abroad teaching English in Spain, and then she was teaching English in Spain for a couple years.
Oh, no way.
I met her. Yeah, so I met her last year, and then Valerie's actually the reason that Magda and I are connected, so thank you to her for that.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah, she's the best. I'm actually taking her yoga course right now, so that's been really cool. She's doing
Okay.
So it's been really fun. But Magda is a serial entrepreneur, so she's got a lot of things going on. And Valerie was like, hey, you have a lot in common with this girl. You guys should really become friends. So Magda reached out to me. I'm also a serial entrepreneur and have all these things going on. And in her bio, I was looking the other day, it says community builder. And the only intent behind anything I'm ever doing is trying to build community. So I actually added that in my bio. I told you I took
Oh, hell yeah.
I took it from you. So very thrilled to have you learn about, like I said, how you're inspiring so many different people, and just for you to have the opportunity to tell your story. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. And the community builder thing didn't come to me until like literally 3 days ago when I was trying to figure out exactly what I did. And
right?
So I was like, Magda, the community builder. It's kind of goofy. It reminds me of Bob the Builder, but I like it.
I mean, it's a big thing, and it's a really big deal, and something that a lot of people have been lacking, especially during this pandemic and quarantine, the isolation. Right. And it's cool for us to be able to do this virtually and talk with people. And then I think that you're going to be able to share about all the different ways you are building community and be able to expand on that even further, because like I said, that's what people need right now. Even though things are shifting a little bit,
right.
We don't know how longer we're going to be stuck in all this.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. Caitlin, thanks. Immediately what you thought of. Bob the Builder.
That's so funny. So do you want to kind of like share about what you're up to? Like, who are you as a person?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah.
For sure. A little bit about me. So I like long walks on the beach. No. So I have, I guess my main thing would be my podcast. I started that about last year in July because a friend at the beginning of last year was like, what goals do you have in mind this year? And I was like, I mean, I am someone definitely that has my hand in like multiple pots. So I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to write a book. And so one thing I wrote down that I was like super excited about because I could kind of see coming to life more quickly than the others was a podcast. So I started that. And then after that, I started getting in so many more things. And I think just because I was so vocal about, the stuff that I was passionate about and whatnot, And so I think it brought a lot of other opportunities in my way. So my podcast is my thing. And then the community builder is a new title because I want to open up this platform. It's going to be called Mad Mesa. I am Latina, so I like to throw in some like Hispanic words in there, or Spanish words. And so Mesa is table. And so with my community building that I want to start helping other people do, I'm going to create this platform called Mad Mesa. And to me, community building is like everything. Like, I think it helps people. In my story lately, I've been doing polls and whatnot. Like, what are you struggling with as a creative? This, that, and the other. And I think community building is a solution to a lot of it, right? Like, people care about what's being followed, or their followers, right? Like their content, creativity, and lacking creativity. And I feel like if you have a community, if you're building a community, then it actually comes a lot easier. So it's something that I'm super excited to launch. I'm going to be doing it in February, and it'll be, I think, bringing in together all of the things that I'm pretty good at. So I'm excited because, like you said earlier, serial entrepreneur, right? So my hands are like in everything. And so this will kind of collectively put it together.
That's so cool. So I have to tell you, the first time, because, okay, so guys, this is how I knew we were like meant to be friends. So Meg reached out to me and sent a voice memo. For anyone that knows me, that is my friend, on text, on Instagram, whether I know you or not, my sister, I like texted her boyfriend's like sister-in-law, everything, on a voice memo about something. She was like, oh, you're getting the full Ellie experience. Like, that is my thing. And so she reached out to me with this voice memo, and I like loved her immediately. But you have like the voice, like your I love your voice so much. I don't know what it is, but I just think it's so, I love it. And
can I tell you how that got started?
Tell me, go.
Because I had no idea that I had like a soothing voice until, I used to write poetry. Thank you. I used to write poetry, and I still do. And my poetry page was like a secret for a really long time because it was the way that I expressed myself, right? I'm a very emotional person, and so it was the way that I would let out like the negativity that I was facing in my life. And someone was like, hey, have you ever tried spoken word? And I was like, no, I never have. And they're like, your voice is pretty good. You should try. So I started, and it started to sound like rapping. And I think it's because I'm also a fast talker. So I was like, okay, cool. I got a little rap thing going on. And then it kind of went back to spoken word, which I was able to perform in person 2 years ago, like at 3 gigs in a row. And it was really cool. And so then after that, obviously putting myself out there, people were like, hey, like you, like, that's when the compliments started coming in, right? The recognition that like my voice is very like clear and the dictation is nice. And so I was like, what else can I do? And I'm like, well, I really like to talk. So let me just have a podcast with all these ideas that I'm always thinking about, because I think another thing I'm really good at is creativity. So that is how the podcast came to be.
I love it. So someone had asked before what the name was of your podcast, and do you want to just go into and talk about, like, you said you have your hand in so many pots. I totally get that, relate on so many levels, but what kind of stuff do you talk about on your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So my podcast is called Creating Connections. And so the name is actually super creative. I have double meaning in just about everything that I do. I think it's a little bit of the poet in me. But so the word create and connect. So those two things are things that I like to think I'm really good at. I'm able to connect people. I'm able to connect events in my life with why I am the way I am. Just growing up, maybe some things that a little bit traumatized me and made me want to explore more. I think I was able to connect, and that allowed for me to like progress more and understand why I am who I am today. The creativity part, it's been in me since I was a little kid. And I've always wanted to just come up, I think it was from like watching Home Alone movies, but I've always wanted to come up with like the weirdest little solutions to things. And so creating, I'm a big fan of. But my podcast is centered around one big topic, and then there's a bunch of little topics. I call them like mindset shifts. It's just different ways of thinking, because I have started reflecting more in my lifetime now than I ever have. And so the little episodes in between the main ones are like mindset shifts. And then the main ones have to do with basically what I felt everyone could relate to, which is graduating high school. Everyone's like just realizing how, I guess, crazy and chaotic life can be. And people are all like, why did no one tell me like taxes and mortgage and like rent and like life? Yeah. And so, and so a lot of people, I feel like, go through mental health like episodes, like just so many things that weren't expected, and it almost felt like it was hidden from us. And so I want to help the younger generation, who is in high school, who is in middle school, realize that, like, by the way, it's going to be bumpy and we're going to be real with you, but at the same time it's been so rewarding. So my main episodes are called "What Did You Want to Be When You Grew Up?" because I think growing up we're focused on that, we're super excited about it. And then in my episodes, I'm talking about the real things that happen. But at the end of the day, all the episodes end on a good note. People are usually talking about how the lessons have taught them so much more than they would have expected. So that is what my podcast is about.
No, that's super awesome. If you ever see me at any point looking down and taking notes on things to ask you, I want to make sure that I always tell you so you don't think I'm like not listening to you.
Oh, no. I could tell because I could
Okay,
see your
just
head
making
a little
sure.
I was
Just
like,
making sure.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they're good.
But I'm just telling you from what I've gotten from you thus far, you give off such an awesome vibe. Very positive, and like what you're saying that you're expressing through your podcast. And I've checked you out and everything. Like I said earlier, people need this. Like during quarantine, the main two things that I know people have been doing is watching TikTok and listening to podcasts because they need some
Right.
uplifting positivity. And you are shining your light right now. You are being a light in the world in a dark time to tell people, hey, you're not in this by yourself. And this stuff sucks. And unfortunately, no one could have prepped us for a lot of the things that happen in life.
Right.
Like parents
Right.
do so much, and life like can only do so much. So you're giving them a reality check, and also being there as someone that I feel is very open and ready to talk and building that community so people would feel comfortable to come to you.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
so important, even if they don't know you. And a lot of times social media and stuff like that, it can be where people find someone like that.
Right. Yeah, I think being an example in your own self is like the biggest thing you could do, right? So I could go ahead and preach about body positivity, but if I'm not showing you that I'm actually dealing with it myself and struggling with it myself, I feel like I'm not showing you the whole picture. And so I think social media obviously shows you one side most of the time, and so that's why I know what it feels like, and that's what I tell in a ton of my posts, right? Like I know exactly what it feels like, but this is the progress I've made, or this is what I'm working towards, because I understand that there's also a positive side to it, or it can get better. So I'm always trying to keep it real.
Yeah, and I think it's good to also talk about how like not everyone's path is going to be the same. Like you said, if
Oh
you're not
yeah,
thinking about body positivity, or like if people don't see that that's something you're working through, then why are they going to go to you about body positivity?
exactly.
So it's like you
Yep.
pick and choose, and everyone's battles are different. But to have like one of the words I wrote about you is vibrancy. I feel like you give off like a light and a very vibrant, like positive, great energy, which is
Yeah.
good. And just something that a lot of people are lacking right now. I think everyone's
Thank
lacking
you.
to some
Thank you.
extent.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's inspired me to do that as well is that I've been on that other end, right? So I understand what it feels like to be alone. I understand what it feels like to go through like just these like I guess moments of questioning yourself, questioning what you're doing, questioning if everything's working out. And I think there was an instant where it was super hard to open up. And maybe it was my poetry that allowed for me to open up because I realized how many people connected with it. And actually, now that I'm
Sure.
saying that, I think it does make sense. And then when I realized the comfort that it provided for people, I was like, you know what? If there was anything I had during those moments of just being completely dark and alone is comfort. Even if people can't fully understand what I'm going through, the fact that other people have made it out and they're being
Yep.
real about it and not just being like, oh, switch it out or flip the switch or whatever, but saying, hey, it does get better, just keep pushing forward, made a big difference to me. So I was like, I'm going to keep doing that for other people.
And being vulnerable is being real. Like life's so hard. So for all of us
Yeah.
to like social media is like, oh my gosh, my body looks rocking. Like I look so great. I'm traveling all the time. Everything's perfect. My relationship is like 12 out of 10. But then like that's not real.
Right.
A lot of good stuff going on. Life's exciting. Don't get me wrong. But you know, like we only see what we want to. So the fact that you're being like a real one is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not the first person to do this, right? So I've definitely followed plenty of other women
Yeah.
that have started paving that path that I get inspired to do these things. So appreciation for people
Sure.
that do that, right? Because
Absolutely.
it was because of their ability to be vulnerable that I have also found the strength.
Of course, and it's finding your own approach. I found something recently that was like, you never come up with something original, ever. It just
Exactly.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen. You just find a way, like your personality, something about you. We're all like original and unique on our own, right? So we can find ways for people to connect.
Right. I think with that, I do want to add that I think the biggest thing for me is realizing that we're all individual, right? We're all very unique, but we're also very alike, right? And I think the way that I have pinned it down now and have defined it and specified it more is by thinking that we're all alike in the sense of like we feel the same emotions. So you can get that comfort, like I said earlier, through the fact that you know someone else understands grief, even though they experience it in a different way. So for sure, we're all still very individually different, but we're similar still in the same time, and it's a cool balance.
And I think that's good to acknowledge because a lot of people don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
because we all do live very different lives, and like even little things like we all eat and sleep, you know, or like you said, feel the same emotions. We have a lot in
Right.
common that we like to take account for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing there for me to stop doing that, or for me to have changed that path thinking that way,
Sure.
that, you know, this is only happening to me type mindset is having a real realization of what the ego is. And I give props to, oh, I have the same water bottle. Uh, mine's over across the room.
That's
But for me, it was definitely reading books that talked about people kind of going through the same process, right? And it was always the ego, like just realizing when it's like your ego speaking
right.
and thinking that this is only happening to you and why did this happen to me and I deserve more, and it's not it's not like that. So that's what's helped me, I guess, self-reflect and move forward with a better mindset.
And you can't do it by yourself. So even if it comes
Mm-mm.
down to like reading books or finding like your little squad or, you know, your group of people that you can connect with, and that's like what you need. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Community.
yeah, and praying too. Like God's a good one too. So there's so much
Right.
that comes out of it, but you just really have to find that outlet and that group of people that can help you get through for sure.
Exactly.
Um, so you are working on multiple different things at one time.
Yeah.
So this is something that I personally struggle with a lot. But how are you able to balance?
Yeah, prioritizing, right?
Yeah.
So balancing, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still learning. And that's with a lot of things. I am constantly learning. I will pick something up, whether it's writing stuff on a whiteboard for a couple months, erase it,
Right.
get like kind of annoying with that or whatever it is, like it starts to just kind of fall off for me. Then I'll do something else. I just started doing sticky notes. So that's kind of working for me right now. But I think it's just kind of realizing that whatever works for you isn't going to work all the time, and being open to switching it up to keep it interesting is how I think I stay on top of things, right? Like someone just told me, a friend, she was in this chat actually, Caitlin, was telling me about OneNote. Apparently OneNote is a nice way to organize. It's like super like organized and in an
Is it an app?
it's no, I think it's part of Outlook. But it makes it look aesthetically pleasing. So if you're someone that likes like just it to look pretty, I think that's something that you could try out. I kind of just want to get it done. So I'm going to do the sticky notes for now and then maybe move on to something new. But for sure, finding a new method, whenever I get bored, switching it up and just keep going. Because I think too, the biggest thing is that I'm no longer doing these projects alone, right? So like when I have my podcast, I'm already reaching out to people. They're expecting me to get back to them. I can't be like, oh, I just don't feel like it today. You know, like I need to keep going. I'm being held accountable by my community that I've built, and with everything else in my life. Like I just joined my brother in a translation business services that we have with my dad, and they do a bulk of the work, but I do help with marketing. And so I have him, you know, reaching out to me every once in a while when we need something new. So there's always someone else involved that helps me keep up with my things. But if it's just me, it's going to be those tactics, right? It's going to be the chalkboard, the whiteboard,
Yeah.
the
Doing
post-it notes,
chalkboards at
whatever
work
it is.
too.
Right, right. But
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's how I like to, I guess, try to stay organized, because it's always I get sidetracked all the time. So a matter of switching it up whenever it's necessary.
Yeah, I think that's really, like the most difficult thing for me
Hmm.
by far, because like I'll be in the middle of like working on some project, but then think of something else.
Yeah,
So then I'm like, ooh, but how this connects, but then I could start on something new. And it ends up
yeah,
being really hard, but it gets so frustrating because I know it can be so successful if I finish. So for me, I'm trying to figure out those strategies still too, because that follows
right.
really hard.
I think a big thing too that'll help both of us is realizing boundaries. It sounds kind of silly, but I don't know if you've heard of this concept, but I started reading this book and it's called Boundaries. And it's basically like, okay, I'm sure you've had this happen to you, but you're I guess working on a project, you get a text from someone asking something of you. And then all of a sudden now you respond to them because you just already know the answer and you want to just kind of get it off your checklist. Boundaries would be noticing that like this right now has your time. You can't switch over just yet because now your mind's not giving the amount of attention that you need to that project. So you're almost like hindering yourself because you're not fully there. So that's what I'm going to start working on, realizing that like I need boundaries to better be there in the situation as opposed to giving 70%, 60% to something because I'm all over the place.
You really need to use that blockage thing on your computer. You know how like you can shut off where
Oh
your
yeah.
notifications from.
Yeah.
That's good. I've never actually used it, but that's a really good
These
idea.
tools are there. Yeah. I actually have never thought of that, but I will. I started doing do not disturb on my phone because I need to.
Yeah, I mean it's so easy to get distracted. You get a text, like a group chat goes off like 25 times. And I mean, are you really missing that much? Like some people are talking, so they'll catch you up.
Right, right.
They'll catch you up in the end. So, well, what kind of feedback have you gotten from your podcast after starting? So you started in July and then
Yeah.
I guess like
It's been half a year basically. So I'm getting good feedback, and I think I need to realize too that like it's gonna take some time, right, to like build up the audience and whatnot. I'm not, and I don't know if this is a bad thing or a good thing, but I'm not a big person when it comes to numbers. Like I don't care if one person's listening. I don't care if 20 people are listening. I care if the right person is listening because I like this almost comes from my current job right now. I work at a university creating events. I care when that one kid that comes to my event that never knew that this could have been so fun and they made so many more friends. Like I care about that person coming
right.
as opposed to like the usual crew or whatever. And so with my podcast, I just hope it reaches the right people. And like I said, it's only 6 months old. So I think what I'm noticing is now I need to spread it in the right avenues, right? So a
Right.
lot of the audience that I want to reach is probably on TikTok. So I started actually posting those episodes on there and I got a decent amount of likes, decent being like 20 likes, which is good for TikTok if you're not like anywhere up there yet.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's still a growing process. The people that I interview enjoy it. I think they kind of reflect throughout the entire time what they've thought and how they've gotten to where they are. And I think it's a really cool opportunity for them to be like, wow. I've even had some guests cry at the end because I ask them the question all the time of what would you tell something or what would you tell your younger self if you could, go back to them in those tough times? And they just kind of have that moment where you could tell they're really thinking of like, I was too hard on myself. And so I appreciate that because that vulnerability, I hope, reaches the right person and allows for them to see that, like, hey, I can relate to Ellie, I can relate to Magda, I can relate to whoever it is. So to me, my podcast is doing well so far, but I know that it still needs to reach its audience. So it's getting there.
Awesome. Well, I'm so proud of you. That's so wonderful. I think the consistency is so key and just
Absolutely.
believing in yourself and knowing that you can. And it is all about just affecting one person,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
eventually you'll get there where everyone is in such a good spot and they all love it so much, but it takes time to build.
Absolutely. And the believing in yourself part can get really hard, right? Because
Sure.
you go like you keep putting stuff out there, you're staying consistent, not seeing anything. But something I try to remind myself is that nothing good comes easy or whatever. And so I was like, okay, cool. So it'll reach the right crowd at the right time. Like imagine if I did wake up and 100 people were like, I want to listen to it today. Do I have enough content? Do I have exactly what I want to talk to them about? So for me, I try to remind myself in those moments that consistency is going to pay off one day, even if it is in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. I'm doing it for the reason of reaching that one person and not, the numbers. So yeah, it'll grow in time.
100,000,000%. Absolutely. And just make sure that the passion is always there and it's
is
close.
is in line. The intention is clear, right? Because when the intention is clear, I think that is, and especially with community building, I think that's why I love that topic now so much. It makes everything make sense, right? Like if you're not hitting your numbers, if you're not getting the traction that you want, well, it doesn't matter because as long as like the message and the purpose is still there, the numbers will come. And I get that, yeah, and I get that the numbers matter, right? Because that's a big reason as to why social media I think does so well nowadays, but it'll come in time.
But that's also why so many people fail and like why they quit on themselves because they get discouraged because after 3 episodes, they only got 5 likes. And it's
Three
just
episodes.
Yeah. But exactly. And it is what it is. And there's people that have been working at it for 3 years and you know, like now they're
Yeah.
thriving, but it's because they have 200 plus episodes.
Exactly. And I just always try to also listen to other people that are doing the same thing as me, because I was listening to
Sure.
a podcast the other day and they were interviewing someone that gets 6 million downloads a month. 6 million downloads. I'm like, I've never even heard of this man. Who is this? Who is this
Right?
podcaster? And he was talking about how he started his podcast 10 years ago. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I got some time. I'll be old, but it's cool.
No, it's true. Exactly. You have time. There's no rush, and everybody's process is different. And that's the comparison. Like comparing your success to the success of others is a big thing. I know as an
Right.
entrepreneur and just people that are trying to do things for themselves, it's hard. I feel like even with like weight loss, with anything, like you're comparing yourself to others,
Everything.
everything. And
Yeah.
so, and social media is like a really great thing, but it's also really like tough.
Yeah. And
And it
I've
kills you
had
too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely used to struggle with it a lot more because now my content is so focused on my messaging, though. I've noticed that I don't really get sucked into it like I used to. And
That's
it's
good.
funny. Yeah, it's funny because I was scrolling on my Insta the other day and I was looking at my pictures and I was like, oh, like before I was attracting like fun, party, and now I'm attracting like just like deeper messages. And I think that it allows for the interactions that I have on there to be a lot more healthier. And so it allows for me to have that discipline and realizing like, oh, you know what? I don't need to be comparing myself today because like, I don't know, everything's going well. So the struggle's still there every once in a while, but for sure not as much.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things that you've said today. You're talking about how much you've grown as a person, and you've been able to reflect and use all of that growth in what you're doing to help other people. And that's really important
Right.
because you seem very self aware. And that's a very important thing as we get older and we grow up because, you know, we all have our stuff and we all have to figure it
Right.
out. So the self awareness is very evident in you, and that's really great.
Thank you. It's an ever-going thing. I always like to share that. Like people are like, "Oh, you're so organized." It's an ever-going process. Like it's
Oh,
never
totally.
there. But
Right.
that's the whole thing, right? It's the journey, it's the process, it's the hiccups, it's the ups and downs. It's never about being I think if anything, if I was like actually super organized, like I would question if I'm actually being honest, right? Like is it really true that you're organized? Are you always on top of your stuff? Because to
Right.
be 100% there is so hard.
Oh, for sure. So, so hard. But, you know, it's a like step by step, day by day, really day by day.
Right.
This is how we do everything, right? So that's the way to
Right.
do it. A question popped up below and I wrote it down. I didn't want to miss it. But how are you tracking your success, or I guess counting your like you said numbers aren't a priority, which is awesome. But I guess how are you tracking your
Growth.
success as a whole, and maybe like how your audience is changing, you know, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, the things that I have, so like my podcast, because of my hosting site, and I feel like all hosting sites. So, hosting site is like the thing that you upload your episode to, and then it sends it off to Apple, to Spotify, to Google Podcasts. But my hosting site does do the analytical part, right? So, like they tell me how many people are listening. Yeah, I always get a weekly update about how many people have been downloading, how many downloads per episode. And so, there are plenty of apps that keep track of this stuff for me. And so, I've noticed that so far it's been increasing. I did have a lull and it was when I wasn't posting as much. So I thought that was interesting to see. But I am keeping an eye on the things that already kind of track my progress, right? When it comes to followers, I don't really track that too much. I like my interactions on Instagram, right? So like when people are viewing my stories, responding to things, I could tell I'm getting more. I can tell people are getting more
Right.
engaged. So I'm just kind of feeling it out and I can sense that people are talking, listening, engaging. And then for my podcast, like I said, using website analytics. But other than that, and any kind of feedback people want to give me, I usually am pretty open, right? So like I've done a couple of workshops and I sent them, questions at the end, right? Like, did you enjoy it? Rate your experience. What would you like me to change afterwards? So I'm constantly making it available so that people can let me know what they're thinking about the stuff that I'm putting out there. And I think people take advantage of giving me any kind of feedback, whether it's good or bad, anytime.
I think that's really good. Being open to the feedback is
Right,
really key. Every time after I do chat ease, I talk with people, I talk with who I interview, whoever, always open for feedback too. It's so important to be ready for that. Uh,
right.
both the good and the negative, you know, just because we're always growing and
Yeah,
changing and becoming better and learning how to like not continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. So
right.
you said, so did you host a workshop?
Yeah, I did. I hosted two, and so that's actually where the idea came from for and they were so random. It's so funny how those started. I'll actually explain that first. So the first one was vision board. So basically these workshops were ways of me finally holding myself accountable for things that I've seen like within the last year, but being like, you know what? Let me finally make myself do it, but to make sure I don't, cancel on myself, let me make it available to anyone else, and whoever wants to join will join. And
Sure.
so the first one I did was like the first weekend in January, and
Of this year.
of this year. Yeah. And so I just think it's funny because it came about so randomly, and now I'm gonna make it like a permanent thing,
Yep.
because the feedback has been good, right? And
Sure.
so the first one was a vision board, and I was just inviting people because this one thing I try to do is tell people I'm not trying to be better than you or like seem like I'm above you. I'm just showing you that like I'm learning as well. And if you want to join me in learning, let's learn
Sure.
together. So we did a vision board, went super well. Second one was 2 weeks later. It had to do with fear setting, another concept that kind of helps motivate you, get you through the ruts, get you through whatever it is you're going through that's not letting you progress. So I finally did that. And they're quick 1 hour workshops. We usually watch a video, read an article about like vision boards, watch the video on fear setting for the first like 15 minutes, and then we talk about how it made us feel, what we think about it. And then from there, I leave like a 25-minute break to kind of work on it on our own, but we're just all there, right? So like we'll all mute each other and then just make sure. Yeah, accountability, exactly. And then if anyone has questions, right? So like if it's your first time making a vision board, hey guys, I'm like lagging on how to write or put this on there. What do you guys have in mind? What do you think I should do? So it's just nice to have that community, right?
Sure.
To be there whenever you are kind of, just asking questions because it's something new to you. So with those two workshops, I just really like the setup, and I have noticed that I like the way I'm able to interact with people. So it's more close knit, right? It's not workshops out like I've only had what 4 people total in both of them. So like that to me is great for the first
Yeah.
time. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I liked it. I like how intimate it could be because I was able to talk to people instead of like a group of like 100 or something. So I liked it
That's
so
like
much that yeah, so I'm gonna make it a permanent thing, and like I said, it's gonna be called Mad Mesa. Mad because I call myself Mad Mags. It's my last name, Madrigal. I'm weird with names, with things. I think it's the poet in me, but I cut off the rest of the Madrigal and I just put Mad. And it'll be the thing I use for a lot of things.
okay. Yeah, I was looking through your is it Linktree
Yeah,
in your Instagram bio, and I wrote down a couple or like the things that were in it because I wanted you to talk about them.
for sure.
It said Mad Mondays.
Mad Mondays. Yes,
Okay.
that's yes.
And I just signed up
Sorry.
for your thing. I just signed up for your
Really? Oh,
yeah.
fantastic.
Because I
Okay,
wasn't
cool.
exactly sure, and I just like signed up so I could get notifications from you, I guess, for anything. I'd love to do one of your workshops. I think that's total rock star of you to do that because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter the number, and you got to start. And then if you do them every 2 weeks, each time they're gonna grow. Even if it ends up being like 3, then 4, and like people
Exactly.
really enjoy it, and then they tell their friends. And a lot of people don't know how to make a vision board or like the accountability is huge. I'm still working on mine. Like it's on the floor right
Right.
now. I was
Oh, the
working on
vision
it.
board?
I have one
Oh,
too,
that's
and I have
funny.
so many things on it. But like and I've made them before, but they're all different. And so I think the accountability stuff is so huge.
So helpful. Yeah.
Someone just asked, what do you think you'll host your platform on long term? On a Facebook group or maybe Zoom? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it's funny because I think my people like okay, so you're seeing questions and I'm not. I think my connection is just bad, but I'm not seeing anything. But I'm glad
Oh
that
yeah,
you can.
no,
Yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all
So
popping up on
so
the top.
a Facebook group, to be honest, that sounds like a good idea, but like I don't even go on Facebook that much. So I don't know if it's something that people still use. I would definitely be open to it if my audience is on it. But I have started looking at Discord more. I don't know if you've heard of it. Does it sound familiar? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So it's super new, I think. Well, it's new to me. But it's kind of like Slack. Have you heard of Slack?
Maybe I don't know anything about
Okay.
it.
Okay. Totally fine. So for anyone listening, Slack is something that I use with my employer, and it's our way of kind of like texting, right? So you're able to have hashtags, and the hashtags allow for like the conversations in the group. So like there's a hashtag on homecoming, right? So like for the university that I work at, homecoming is happening right now. So we only talk about homecoming there. In a different hashtag, it'll be maybe office stuff, right? So we'll talk about how we need to get paper or something. So
Right.
Discord is set up just like that. And I like it. I really like the different threads of conversations that you could be having. So I think it's I think it's the most thing that I'm familiar with. Facebook pages, Facebook groups. I just don't like the way that like Facebook displays everything on the same thing, right? With these little threads, it'll be nicely kind of categorized. And on a Facebook group, I feel like I would just be scrolling to find something or to make sure I didn't miss someone. So I feel like I'm leaning towards Discord. But yeah, so I think that's going to be it.
I think it's really just finding what works best for you. She said, I see fitness influencers doing it. I see fitness influencers doing it or using GroupMe, which is similar, I think, to that. She said gamers use Discord a lot.
Yeah. Gamers do. Because I think the little emoji is like it looks like a little just gaming thing. But yeah, fitness influencers do use Facebook, and I have been a part of one page. She does do lives, and it's nice to see her do lives there. But I'm pretty sure you can do lives on Discord as well. I might be wrong. Like you can even share music like live. It's really crazy. So I think the opportunities there are pretty big.
Yeah, definitely just finding a way, like whatever works best for you, and then
Right.
just making sure your audience knows how to use it too. I feel like that
Right.
would be the only thing, like not hesitance, but I just like I'm not familiar with that, and I know other people probably aren't. So it's just making sure your audience knows how to use it or what it is.
Right.
So they can find it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I understand that for sure. And for me, I too was kind of weary about downloading it because I'm like, there's so many apps out there. But
For
once
sure.
you see what it's like, it's kind of like TikTok, to be honest. Like I first was like, why am I downloading this? And I was like, oh, I see what it's about. It's so cool.
Right.
Like I actually like the content that's on there. I feel like it's the same way with me in this app. So hopefully I'm able to get some people on there, if that is
Cool.
the platform I choose to do it on.
You totally will be able to if that's the one you choose. Like I said, you're just gonna have to probably teach people how to use it or show them what the app looks like.
Right. Really quickly.
Right, exactly. Then they'll find it. So I had another podcast question going back to it. So we talked about how consistency is super key. So when do you release your podcast and how frequently do you release them?
Yeah. So when did I first release it, or what was the first question?
Like right now, do you do it weekly or bi-weekly? Like when
Oh,
do you
yeah.
release them so people can check you out?
Right. So I usually do my Tuesdays are my what did you want to be when you grew up? So whoever I have as a guest, I'll drop that episode on a Tuesday. I'll do a couple of the other ones, the mindset shifts. I do those randomly throughout the week. So there's always at least an episode on a Tuesday, and then
Every
if
week.
not, yeah, all the time. So I usually have at least 2 episodes per week. But I used to go crazy with it last year. And I think it's because I had the time, and now my like I said, my life is getting more busier, but or
Yeah,
more busy. But for sure, at least 2 episodes, because I think that at least gets out what I want to talk about for the week.
that's good. That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the mindset shift ones are so short. Like they're like
Right,
6, 7 minutes. They're
right.
literally just like reflecting. The guest ones are usually 30 minutes to an hour, so those are a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like we said, consistency is so key. So you need to use
Yeah.
that, and if you can find the right people to be interviewing, it's like I feel like the more people that you talk to, the more inspired you are, and then you inspire more people, and it just builds and builds and builds. So
Right.
that's the way to do it. So you said that the analytics and everything is checked out for you on like how many people are viewing your podcast, and you get a notification and everything. So I actually, the last person that I interviewed was also, she has a podcast, but hers is a everyday My Morning Devo, and so she talked about,
Mm.
or My Morning Devotional, but she talked about what she used like app wise and all that stuff. But I'm very interested, what do you use as your like prime app for downloading, and then do you have a like special microphone, or what do you do with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I love sharing this stuff, and I'm actually going live next week too to kind of help people who are interested in starting a podcast, showing you how easy it is.
That's awesome.
Because I actually started. So you know how I said last year a friend made me write some goals down, and so in January I said I was going to start it, and I didn't start it till July or August, right? And it was because I was like, oh, I need to get a fancy mic. I do. Like, I just need to. Like, I need to have the right equipment. I need to Google stuff. I haven't done enough research, this, that, and the other. And so I finally did it all, right? Ordered everything, cost me about $300. It was like a mic. And I don't even know what the other things are or what they do. But I knew it was highly recommended, and I was like, I just need to get a move on. And so I ordered these things, spent $300, and then did nothing. I was like, why am I not recording? Am I scared? What's going on? And so I was like, I'm actually just like scared, I guess, of like what it's going to be like. I don't even know what to talk about. And
Yeah.
so I finally just went back into looking what it like involved doing, right? Like, okay, once I record on my mic, what am I even supposed to do? And so I found out that you can use Audacity. And so Audacity is available on MacBooks. I don't know if it's available on regular laptops, but I use it on my MacBook and it's free. And so I was like, all right, cool. Let me just record, see what it's like. I did. And I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. And it was easy. It was just like, oh, I mean, I don't know what half of the buttons are. Still more than half. I don't know what 99% of the buttons are, other than how to make the noise reduction for like the background noise go away, record, download. That's like all I know how to do on there, and it works. And
You weren't
so
using the microphone at all, or you were hooking the microphone to the app?
no. I stopped because I noticed that it was making me not want to record. I was like, oh, I'm over at my boyfriend's. I have my laptop, but I forgot my mic, so I can't record. And I was like, dude, just freaking record. And so
Right.
I finally recorded just straight on my laptop. It doesn't even sound bad. Like once I do the noise reduction filter or whatever, it sounds perfectly fine. And so I was kind of like, I wasted $300, but whatever.
Did you return it?
No. No. Yeah. If anything, you know what? I might just give it away to someone. I know some of actually I know my little niece is super into YouTube, both her and her brother. So I might just gift it to them. But yeah, so after I use Audacity, you have to have a hosting site. So mine is called Buzzsprout. There's multiple out there, but I so far have liked Buzzsprout. Like I said, they send you the analytics. I think a lot of them do actually. And they send me emails at the beginning of the week, I think it is, with like some tips, right? So it's nice because they're constantly trying to help you learn how to have guests, how to do things. And so when I'm done recording on Audacity, I put it in Buzzsprout. And from there, you pick where you want to share it, right? So you pick if you want to put it on Apple, if you want to put it on Spotify, and there's a bunch of other podcast platforms, but those two are the ones that I'm familiar with. So those are the ones that I choose to export on.
Sure.
But once that's done, it does it for you. So you record an episode, put it on the hosting site, goes live the next day, and then it's done.
Makes it sound so easy. Yeah, well,
So
good for
easy.
you. So many times, like with everything that we do, we find an excuse or like a reason to be we're nervous or we're scared. There's always something. So
Right.
happy that you were able to push through that, and now you're killing it.
Just recording nonstop. If anything, I think I started recording all the time because, like I said, end of last year, I was recording like I think 4 times out of the week, and it was just because I was like, oh, I know what to talk about today. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and go.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's so easy. So if anyone ever wants to start a podcast and has further questions, I'm not. Do you have one or no?
I like started one. I do technically, but the consistency was not there just because I didn't have the time for it.
Okay.
So I am actually, that's why I'm super intrigued. Just
To know how to do it.
About the Buzzsprout, and I
Yeah.
had heard about that, and I have a little microphone thing set up here, but I ordered it 2 years ago, like wanting to start.
Oh,
And then, like,
same story.
when I've actually, I think mine was like $100 maybe, but like
Yeah.
since when I recorded it. Now, when I have recorded the ones that I have, I just use my laptop, but I did it over Zoom, literally.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah,
then use like GarageBand or whatever to like, or no,
yes.
Movie Star.
iMovie is another. Yes. Yeah.
That's
So the
how I've done
Zoom.
it.
Okay, the Zoom I've done as well. That's for my guests because
Yeah,
you can
that's-
record on there. Exactly. Yeah. So it's really easy. I think maybe the thing that might be holding you back is, and this is the other thing that I think holds a lot of people back, is realizing like what the message is for that podcast, right? Like what is it that you're trying to do? So for me, I was a part of I don't know if you've heard of it's not a new app, but I feel like it's picking up. It's called Clubhouse.
Yeah. Everyone keeps recommending it to me,
Dude,
and I have
it
not
is
really gotten a chance to check it out yet. I'm ready.
yes. So it's a little weird. I didn't get it at first. Weird in the sense that like it was just kind of, you could tell I think it's new because it just looks like it needs to still be filtered. Like they need to tweak some things. But I was a part of an episode, not part, but I listened to, because that's what you do. You just drop in on conversations. And there were these 2 people talking about how to grow your audience on something and also be able to monetize it later on. And so that's something I've been interested in doing, but it's just kind of like awkward for me because I'm like, I don't know, I want things to be for free, but like I can only do so much. But it showed me how to kind of hone in on your message, on your niche or however people pronounce it. And
Yeah.
so I think that's the problem with most people when they start a podcast. They don't have that zoned in, this is my message with it. And so the question I would have someone ask themselves is, what problem are you trying to solve with it, right? So I think that's what pushes you to keep going. And so it doesn't have to be like, I'm trying to solve cancer. Like, it's not like this really big problem. It could be like mine, right? Like, I'm trying to solve the problem of kids feeling alone during that transition and feeling clueless when they leave high school and shit's hit the fan, right? So, and it did. Yeah. A
Sorry,
little bit.
my grandma was calling me.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Sorry about that. Okay. No, hope it doesn't.
We'll get back to you, Grandma. Yeah.
Yeah, we will call her back. Yeah, no, I think that that's because when I've done interviews with people, I do like a chatty kind of podcast, so it's like an extension of what I do here, but just different questions and a different vibe because it's not a live, and just some people don't like to do the live. You know, they get a little nervous, so I get it. And just coming up with like different spins to it, and like so much went on. But I think seriously, what you're doing with like a reality check to life, no one prepares you. It is so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like so hard.
Incredibly hard. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's
Everything
almost,
about
yeah. And it's funny because I used to be angry about like the fact that no one told us. And I'm like, you're an adult. You've been through this too. Why haven't you talked about it? Right. And then I started to realize how hard it is to have those conversations, how hard it is to actually share. For people, vulnerability for everyone, for myself included, is so hard. So I totally get why it's a thing. But I'm trying to make it more comfortable. So that is why I need to be doing these episodes.
Yeah, and people need to hear it, just like the expenses of life and heartbreak and just like school is hard, like everything,
Right.
working, finding a job, getting stressed, like everything. It's so hard.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like a really good niche.
I don't know what the right pronunciation
I
is.
think
Yeah.
it's niche. I think niche sounds cooler, so that's how I say it. But I know you never know. You hear some niche too sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think that what you're doing right now for sure is something that people need. So that's really great.
Thank you. Likewise.
Course.
Likewise as well. Yeah.
Thanks. It's fun for me. I have a good time. So, and I've met a lot of really awesome people like yourself. So it's been very fun.
Yes. That's like the biggest benefit to it all. Like, I don't think people realize how much it also helps us in turn.
Great.
So yeah, the community aspect is just fucking killer.
I know. Absolutely. I think this is my 23rd episode.
What? Congrats.
Thank you. And I think two people I knew beforehand before I did this.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's like,
everyone else was new.
Yeah. And people you live in New York?
No, what? I wish. I wish. I'm
Chicago.
in the suburbs of Chicago.
Who was in New York? Someone lives in New York. I knew that actually, and because I almost asked you because I was thinking Central Time because you're an hour behind, and Valerie lives in Chicago. Outside of Chicago.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. No. I knew that actually.
No, but New York is the dream, so I thought that was funny. I was like, you're just calling it in.
No, that's so funny. But like, we're not even in the same state. Like most of the people I've interviewed don't even live in the same state.
That's crazy.
Which is
crazy cool. Yeah.
Social media has some good stuff, so definitely cool. So we had a question about top 3 book recommendations. I have to be honest, I have not been good about reading lately. I have some in my box, but that's like a goal of mine, like for this year.
Yeah.
So I will write mine down after, but I need to do a little more reading before that's over.
Yeah.
Do you have any book recommendations?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Because those are like, books are literally what changed my mindset. And it's funny because I think school made me hate reading just because it was always about a subject that I could care less about. Oh, sorry. My phone went on low battery. So anyways, once I started reading with the intention of just like for myself and for finding answers to whatever I was feeling, it started to change the game. So my biggest book that changed the table was Defining Decade. And it was it's by Meg, something with an R. And basically she's a psychologist who talks to a bunch of people in their 20s and talks about what they're feeling. And so it includes what you said earlier, right? The breakups, the not thinking,
The crap.
the crap. Yeah, the crap. And so it's crazy because I was just like, oh, like we're not supposed to have it figured out. Why does it feel like we do? And I think I've joked around this before, but I think it's just something that our parents kind of like put on us, and they don't realize that there is an immense pressure when they ask us that at Thanksgiving dinners with other family members, like, oh, what are you going to do when you graduate? Are you getting married soon? Are you having kids? And it's like, dude, I have so many pressures right now. This isn't helping. So defining decade is the first one. Tuesdays with Maury. Yeah, Tuesdays with Maury was one I read over quarantine. I have never read a book in 4 hours. Granted, it is only under like 250 pages or something, but it made me cry.
Why'd
It
you make it
was
sound like that's like a small amount?
because I okay, cool. Maybe it is a big feat, but I was like still like, it's not that big of a book, and I can't believe I did it. So anyways, it was amazing. It basically has to do with this professor. He's an old professor now. He has
Wait, what's it called again?
ALS.
Sorry.
Tuesdays with Maury.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
He has ALS, and his student visits him. And basically, it's a student who used to, have a close relationship with this professor. And the professor walks through lessons in life. So every Tuesday, he learns a new lesson, and it's freaking amazing. Like, it just a tearjerker. I gave it away as a giveaway a couple months ago, and I sent a box of tissues with it because it's literally that. Like, just it's so emotional. I know. I was like, dude, I already know you're gonna be crying, and I feel bad. So here you go. And then my favorite. There's too many, but for sure the third door. The third door.
I'm so embarrassed I didn't have any.
You what?
I'm so embarrassed I didn't have any. I think
No,
like
I know.
reading would really get me, but I think it would push me so much harder, and I like it when I do it, so I need to get back into it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't come easy for me, but these three books have motivated me to keep reading more. So Third Door by Alex Bayanan or Banayan is basically, okay, so the intro is this, and it's so freaking good. Life is like a nightclub. There's, the first door is the door that everyone waits in line for. Line wraps around the block. You have to pay a $20 fee to get in, whatever. The second door is the one that's for the VIP people, right? The people that are already there with a booth, have money to spend. And then there's a third door in life, which is the door at the nightclub that's in the back. That's where the bartender takes a smoke break, and you can sneak in by asking for a cig or whatever. Like the thing is so interesting, but it's basically like finding the third door in life. And I love the nightclub scenario because I was like, damn, that's clever. But it's really crazy. I won't say anything else, but it's crazy. It's crazy good.
All right, I wrote all of these down. So Defining Decades, Tuesdays with Maury, and The Third Door. I can wait for this down at the end too for people to check it out. Just a follow-up question, but what is the name of your podcast, just as a reminder?
Yeah, Creating Connections. And if you search up Creating Connections with Mags, MADMAGZ, it'll come up quicker because I think there's a couple of other things out there that are called Creating Connections.
Okay, perfect. Yep, and I'll link all of this at the end when we're finished.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay, so question: if you were to use 3 words, to define yourself or describe yourself as the community builder and person that you are, what would they be?
All right, so
it's good to get you to think.
Yeah. 3 words. So I don't even know if these are descriptions. So the 3 words that I think of when I think of myself are super energetic. And I think it's because of the passion and the curiosity that I have. So it's not that I'm always energetic, but I am more than most. And it just, like I said, because of those 2 other things, right? So they're constantly getting me to think. Like, I'm always wondering, like, what is my purpose as a human? Why am I doing this? Why do I think this of myself? Why is my hair like brown? Like, I don't know, just all these questions. I'm curious, right? So the energy comes from the self-reflection that always happens, and I get so geeked on life. And then another word that comes to mind that I know I've helped other people do because I think there's so much strength in it is vulnerability. It's not a describing word, but it's a word that I try to embody. Because I think it does a lot more good than harm. And I know it's uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is something that we should become comfortable with. It allows for you to grow. Yeah. And then the third one is, we'll go with optimistic. I get that a lot. And I think it's just the fact of trying to find the good in everything will allow for you to continue seeing more of that. So I think that's why I stay as optimistic as I am. Plus, like, if I do find a problem, I either can move forward or I can linger in it. And I know what lingering in it is going to entail. And I don't know if I have the right amount of energy for that. So I try to move forward. Yeah, and I'm very optimistic because of it, just because I feel like there's always things that you can come up with and solutions.
Yeah, no, I think all of those make great sense, and I think you said the vulnerability isn't really a descriptive word, but I think vulnerability has to do with being real, with being authentic.
Mm,
A lot of people
okay,
have trouble
yeah,
doing that, so I would say authentic in regards
authentic,
to that, and it's like, incorporates the vulnerability into it, but
right?
that's being real and just being like, hey, this isn't easy for me. I'm having a hard time, like I've been through it, or I'm going to go through it, and I'm here for you. And
Yeah,
that's
and the
hard for
power that
people.
yeah, the power that holds, like it brings so much more things together than it actually divides, that I think it's worth like all the costs.
Yeah. And you start out helping one person, but then it just, as your community builds and grows, it's going to be so many more people that you're affecting. So it's a really, really
Right.
needed and wonderful thing.
Right.
Um, what would you say sets you apart from other people?
My ability to listen, even though I'm not super good at it, it's something like I'm always honest,
Not my
right?
strong suit, but
Yeah, like I mean, I think I'm better than most, but I'm always kind of like not giving myself full credit for it because I always want to be learning, right? But my ability to listen. So I used to see it as a weakness because I saw it as a way to not take a side. Like I never knew how to take sides. I was always like, oh, this person's right, but that person's right too. And I was like, I don't know, I can't tell like who's wrong, who's right, and this person's my friend, but this person's my friend too. And I was like, no, I don't think it's a weakness. I think it's an ability to listen so then you can communicate. Because what's the point of like finding the differences, labeling them, and then living with hate or fear? So for me, listening became is what I saw from that. And it's actually a really powerful tool because one thing we couldn't do last year was communicate, right? Because of everything that was happening in this country. And so being able to listen, I think, is the first thing you need to do to communicate, because you can't, there's too many perspectives, there's too many things going on. And if you don't understand the other side, the multiple sides, whatever it is, then it's not really a good, like, it's not real communication.
yeah, and hearing people out is key to being able to find any sort of like a resolution to a problem.
Right, right.
It stinks to feel like, people aren't on your side. So that's good.
Yeah. Ellie, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried because my phone is under 10%.
Okay, we'll be super quick. We're almost done. Don't
Okay,
worry.
okay,
This has happened
perfect.
to me a couple times when I've done these interviews.
Okay, okay.
Same thing. You'll be fine.
I thought I found a charger, but I think this is an Apple Watch because I literally
It's a
plugged
watch.
it in.
No,
And
it's
I'm in
okay.
my boyfriend, so I can't find it, and he's nowhere near me. So
Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll be super quick. We're almost done.
perfect.
Last thing. So I had just written down all of the businesses and everything that is in your link tree. So we
Hmm.
talked about creating connections and then Mad Mondays, and it's going to be called Mad Mesa.
Mad Mesa, yeah,
Right. So that's going to be super awesome. So it also said love letter.
yeah. Love letter series.
Oh,
So
I
that
wrote. I wrote. It looks like I wrote census, but I just wrote a really quick series.
yes, so that is something that I'm doing with two nonprofits. I am alive and Pure Alchemy. So basically, it is a series that just encourages love. So writing letters, especially during the winter months, depression rates are higher, right? And
Sure.
because of COVID and quarantine and whatnot, people are, I'm sure the numbers regarding depression and mental health are a lot more alerting than normal. So we wanted to provide a simple solution, not solution really, but a simple tactic towards
Okay.
maybe fighting that, right? As simple as writing someone a love letter, which is kind of old school, but we all loved it,
Great.
because it's so genuine, right? It's
Sure.
very awkward for people, but it could be as simple as like, hey, thinking of you, and that's it,
Sure.
right? Like it doesn't have to be like you professing your love to someone. So we did write a couple templates, because I love writing, and so I made some for people if writing's not your strong suit, some love letter templates to people that were to people that are nurses during this time, kind of saying, thank you so much for everything you've been doing. I can't imagine like how hard this has been, blah, 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 especially from your
Of course.
perspective. So that is what that is in a nutshell.
Sounds awesome. I'm gonna check that out. My grandma always like tells me to write more letters because all we do is text, like in general.
Yeah,
Notes, and that's like a really big thing. And so then the last one that was on there was Mac Daddy. Is that something?
Yes, that's my boyfriend's business. Yeah.
Okay,
So he
cool.
makes gourmet mac and cheese, and it is the best mac and cheese, I want to say, in the Midwest. And it's delicious. Yeah, he started it last year, like really took off. He does ship it. I know with shipping it costs a little more, but he is delivery right now in the Chicagoland area, the suburbs, but he does ship it as well. It's an option, and the flavors are phenomenal. He started that last year, and I have been a big part of it in helping him just promote it. So I do my best to always be shouting it out.
Okay, well, I'm gonna order some of that because I love mac and
Heck
cheese.
yeah. Dude, it's a game changer.
Get your dinner, guys.
Yeah, there you go. They'll love you. Buy some for a friend. Like, that's what I'm telling them. I'm like, promote people to just send it to other people because it's so good.
And
It's
if
such
it's so
comfort
good,
food.
the shipping cost is not a big deal. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if it's good and like
It's worth it. Yeah.
It's worth
Thanks
it.
for asking.
Yeah, of course. I went through all of them and I like clicked on them. So I had like an idea about everything, but I still wanted to ask because they're all important to you and so they're important to me too. Okay, so kind of finishing up, do you have any tips for people that are looking into like starting their own business, starting their own podcast, or just like are in a place right now where they're a little uncomfortable and don't know where to go next?
Yeah. Okay. So starting your own business, a little uncomfortable because, okay, so realize why you're uncomfortable, right? Is it because you don't believe in yourself? Is it because you're afraid of getting judged, what other people are thinking? If it's all the above, then we need to let that aside because of the possible benefits of whatever you're going to start, right?
Absolutely.
So when starting something, I think the biggest thing is defining, like I said earlier, what it is you're contributing to. Whether it's just telling your story, and I think the easiest part actually to find what you contribute to is sharing your own story, sharing what you have experienced. Because before, I used to be like, who am I to talk about this? Like, I don't know everything, so why would I be telling people? But I'm like, no, I know the power in sharing, and so I am going to share from my experiences. So something that I have been more vocal about recently because I'm more comfortable with is my previous eating disorder. So I do talk about that, even though I'm not someone that could give people recommendations. I could be like, yo, I've been there and I just want to let you know it gets better if you continue trying. And so whenever you're looking to start something, I think the best way to start is by looking at what you've experienced, because that is going to create the most authentic solution. So it's not you BSing, and I'm not trying to call people out, but sometimes I feel like we feel inclined to do something and it's not coming from a good place, from a good intentional place. And so for me, I think looking within, looking to where you can contribute is a great place to start. And like I said, when that fear comes, just realize that the cost of not doing it is greater than the cost of doing it.
Yep. And see, that was another part of you just being vulnerable, but being real. And that's something that affects so many people. So for you to be like, hey, this is something I've dealt with. And it's not anyone's business. Like you're not being paid to share with people. And it's not like your job.
Exactly.
You're doing it because you want to be real and to connect and make people feel comfortable. So
Right.
We need more of you in the world, Magda. You are so wonderful. And I'm very excited for us to hopefully like work together and do something cool in the future. To check out Mad Mesa and continue listening to your podcast and have everyone else checking it out too. Where can people find you when looking for you on social media or wherever?
Yeah, my Instagram, it is where I am all the time. So my Insta is the best way to reach me, and I will happily connect you with anything else that I offer. I understand that for people it may I may be asking too much for you to go to my bio, find my stuff there. I will gladly take the time to send you whatever it is you're looking for. Hey, I need an episode talking about this. Do you have anyone that has shared a similar story? I don't want to go through all your episodes, no offense. I'm too busy. Okay, I got you. Like I honestly get it. Like I'm not trying to pull teeth, but I am trying to also meet you halfway there. So I think reaching out, via Instagram is the best way. And then if you want to go ahead and find it yourself, go ahead. But for anyone that's like, that's too much work, I don't even know her, just reach out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so glad that Val connected us and that we were able to do this.
Dude, for real.
It's so great. I'm glad we made it before your phone died. My phone, I charged it and it was on 60% before we started, 60, and now it just said under 20. So
It's so crazy on Instagram Live. I know I keep looking at the little bar and I'm like, if it ends awkwardly right now, that'd be so funny. But it keeps not ending, so I'm glad.
Yeah, no, we don't want that because I want to make sure it's safe. So thank you so much. You're so wonderful. Like I said, super glad we connected. Have a great night. And
You too. Thank you for having me.
in your future. Of course, you're welcome. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.